Now we're going to have a look at the multiple stage envelope generators located down here. We've got 4 of them. Now we've already looked at envelopes when we looked at the filter envelope and the amp envelope. And these were used to change up the contour of the filter and amplitude to widen the palette of sounds that we could create using the synthesizer. The multi-stage envelope generators are freely assignable, so we assign these within the mod matrix. So we choose source, we have our 4 MSEGs here, and then we can choose from our various different destinations. Let's put it on the filter cutoff. It's an obvious one. Let's bring the cutoff down so we hear some change occurring when we bring in our envelope. Okay, so these MSEGs don't conform to the traditions of synthesizer envelopes. They don't have attack, decay, sustain, release controls, although you could draw those in. But what they are is customizable envelopes, so we can create our own custom shapes. And because we can actually loop this, they actually become custom LFO shapes as well, which is really, really powerful. So you can use this for traditional envelope functions, but you can also create things like trance gates and custom rhythmic shapes using the LFO. Really powerful. Let's bring up the amount here so we can actually hear this doing something. Now, to create a shape, all we need to do is double click and we see these lines appear. We can right click to delete a line, and we can also curve these lines by clicking and dragging vertically up and down. Now, as you'll hear, by creating extra lines, we get those kind of more interesting shapes that wouldn't be possible with a traditional envelope. Really cool. Now we have some presets here that the guys from June 3 have created for us. So let's have a look at some of these. Let's look at Bahamas. So for those of you that are used to using Massive or Massive X, this is like the Performer. And these are looping. You see we've got the loop function switched on. Like so. So you could try out some of the presets if you just want some kind of inspiration. Okay, well, let's clear this. We can start again. Okay, so let's draw in another shape. Like so. Now what we can also do is copy and paste from one envelope generator to another, which is really cool. We can invert as well, which is going to invert vertically what we've got there. We can reverse. We can invert reverse if you want to. And remember, clear allows us to go back to an empty envelope. Okay, so let's have a look at the modes now. So first of all, we have note on. That means whenever we press a key, we're going to start triggering the envelope. We also have note off. Now this is quite interesting. This is going to allow us to trigger the envelope on a note off. To do that, we're going to need to have some release, otherwise the sound would disappear straight away when we have a note off. But let's put in a shape here. So if you look at my control and logic here, let's actually do it like this. So you'll see when the note has a cross through it, that tells us it's a note off. So you see, when I release the key, that's when we triggered the envelope, which is really nice. Now the next option here relates to the arpeggiator, so we'll come back to that when we look at the arpeggiator. But the last option is loop. And this is where we have the option to turn this into a custom LFO shape, essentially. So at the moment, this shape is going to loop round, as you'll hear. We've got a rate control. Let's just turn down that release. A rate control to determine how fast that's going to occur. And we can choose the length to determine how long that's going to be. So if we wanted something a little bit more evolving, then we can increase the length. can hear that it works. So this is now synced to the project tempo. Pretty cool. Now this is syncing to the project tempo because we actually have the sync button on here. If we had that sync button off, we'd then be working in seconds. So it'd kind of be free rather than locked to the project tempo. Now we can also determine how much this is going to be affected by velocity. So you'll hear that if I play the key softly, we're sending less of a signal to the filter cutoff to modulate it. If I press the key fast or hard, then we're sending more of a signal. Now we can also key track this as well, which is going to affect the speed of the envelope depending on how high we play up the keyboard. You can hear that, which could lead to some quite interesting effects and also kind of mimics what a real acoustic instrument would do. So for example, on a guitar, high notes will decay quicker than lower notes. And that is our multi-stage envelope generator. A really nice function of this synth. So let's have a recap. So the multi-stage envelope generator is slightly different to a traditional envelope in that we can actually customize the shapes that we use and we can loop it. So it kind of becomes like the Performer in Massive, a kind of custom shape LFO. We can have it triggered at a note on, a note off. We're going to come back to key on because that relates to the arpeggiator. Or as I said, we can loop it. We have presets that we can choose from. We can copy and paste between the different slots. We can invert, we can reverse and clear to get rid of the shape. Rate allows us to determine the speed when we're looping, and also we can sync that to the project tempo or have it in seconds. Velocity determines how much velocity is going to affect the amount of signal we're sending to the modulated parameter, which was the filter cutoff. And key track allows us to change the speed of the envelope depending on how high we play up the keyboard. And that is our multi-stage envelope generators. In the next video, we're going to have a look at our mod matrix. So I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.